Hey there and welcome to this module. In this module, what we're going to be looking at are the 4 absolute foundational principles that you need to be applying to any piece of legal drafting throughout your career. These are the things that you must have in mind. I am not in this section going to tell you about grammar. I am not going to talk about word use necessarily. I am not going to talk about specific tactics. We're going to step back from tactics. I could tell you to use a heading every 262 words, but that wouldn't necessarily mean that you understood why I was telling you to use a heading every 262 words. This module is about the why. You've probably seen things and you've gotten feedback and you've been told to do particular things, but it's not necessarily the case that you've been told why. And that's what this principle course is about. But that's also what this module is focused upon. And so what are these main elements of legal drafting? And if you've read the lesson outline, then you probably already know. But they are quite straightforward if you think about it. But they are very difficult to master. We're going to start with purpose. What is the purpose of the underlying legal document? This is not necessarily an easy question to answer. We're going to look at audience, who is not necessarily the person to whom you have addressed the thing or the person to whom you are sending the thing. There are more subtle complexities involved in determining your audience and whether you have appropriately addressed that audience's needs. We're going to look at striking the right tone, and this is something that so many lawyers don't get right. They think that tone A works in all situations, whereas tone A might only work for person A and tone B is needed for person B, but tone A and tone B have entirely different responses. They have entirely different word usage. They have entirely different phrasing. Even though your purpose might be the same, you might want to strike a different tone. And this is a very challenging aspect of legal drafting to get right, and I think it's an important one and it's an often overlooked one. And finally, we're going to look at brevity. We look at brevity last because if you get the first 3 elements right, then brevity will flow naturally from those 3 elements. And as you'll see, it's not an arbitrary rule. It is not simply that you should use less words all the time. It's not simply that you should avoid long-winded sentences. It is more complex, and it is more strategic in your decision making about what brevity actually means for any given circumstance. So as you work through these lessons, have a look at how these elements all tie together, how they feed into each other, and how they cascade down so that all of them actually instruct the others. And this is why we have these 4 pillars. They all hold up a corner of your legal drafting. And without one of them, you're going to tilt, you're going to have issues, you're going to have responses that you weren't expecting. And so that is how we're going to build up effective legal drafting skills based on these principles. So that's all for the introduction. Let's get into the lessons.